students, sorry, it's very abrupt. About 100 students across Davidson, across 20 different majors have done the program. And it's been really great to understand students' motivations for doing the program and to see the things that they've been able to do. I'm joined here by Jamie, so I want to give her a moment to introduce herself.
Hey everybody, I'm Jamie Staney. I'm the Executive Director of the Matthews Center for Career Development. And I work with Ann, kind of the on the ground Davidson side of things. So I'll be a connection point for you just, while you're considering the program, and then once you decide to officially apply, and then I'll be in and out of the program throughout the spring.
Thanks, Jamie. So the purpose of this conversation is to give you a bit of an overview of the Davidson and Silicon Valley program. A number of you have mentioned that you know people have done it, and others have said, I simply read about it in a newsletter. So again, to give you an overview of the program and to answer any specific questions that you might have. We are in the process now of starting to receive applications from students, and they are due October 1st. So happy to answer any questions that you might have as you consider this. We know there's a lot to think about with respect to academic programming and what the experience itself looks like. So hopefully you can see my screen. What is Adjacent? So we are a partner to Davidson. We work really closely with faculty in developing the courses and staff and making sure that it's a good fit for you. We partner with a number of liberal arts institutions to help design and deliver high quality immersive experiences to help students develop skills and mindsets that will increase opportunity for them in a world that's increasingly technology and innovation driven. What we like to say is you don't have to major in computer science in order to play a role or have an impact in tech. A lot of our students do major in CS, but an equal, if not more of them, do not major in CS and are looking for an opportunity to complement their degree. A lot of students ask, who is Adjacent for? Is this for me? And one of the great things about Adjacent is it's very intentionally designed for liberal arts students. That's what makes it different. We find that students don't necessarily just want to put their head down in a traditional boot camp and study pure tech skills. And so that's why you'll see in the course offering, there's this combination, this opportunity to develop hard technical skills, but also to have the critical conversations and make the connections that are true of the liberal arts. So what we see why students are doing it, the thing that's common across them is they're curious about technology. On one end of the spectrum, you might have someone like Kay, who was curious about tech, but wasn't excited about exploring it because she wasn't sure she could do it. She didn't see people around her who were doing tech-driven roles and felt that the campus-based opportunities weren't a good fit for her. So for her, it was an opportunity to learn those things in a different environment with people who were more like her, who weren't choosing to spend the majority of their time in CS. On the other end of the spectrum, we don't have the example here, are people who do choose to study CS. They are majors or they're intended, they haven't yet declared, but intend to major in CS, I think as you said, Miles. And for those students, it's an opportunity to go deeper and it's an opportunity to be applied. So all of the learning at Adjacent is project driven. And we do that because we believe that it's the best way to build things and break things and build them again, and to connect those with interests that you might have. So we might have a project that says, we need you to build a website or an app that functionally does these things, and we'll teach you how to use those skills to do that. But the content, the topic of what you build is really up to you. So students, for example, in the first 24 hours of Adjacent, will build a website. We'll say, see you in 24 hours, here's your team, create a website and present it. And students may choose topics ranging from anything from politics to Black Lives Matter to space exploration. There's a really wide range of projects that people have. And again, it's that combination of your interests with this opportunity to develop these tech skills. So again, I mentioned those tech skills, but other things as well. Students always ask, what are the courses? And we'll get to that in a minute. But we really think about it at a very high level. It's three things. One is technical skills. Two of the courses are technical in nature. But most importantly, what we want students to walk out of Adjacent with is a different mindset about learning. We want you to have more of a computational mindset The liberal arts education is about a density of experiences, and we believe that Davidson in Silicon Valley offers you an opportunity to have a different type of experience. And what we hear from students is, before, I didn't know how to do HTML or CSS, but what's really fundamentally different is how I approach learning. And we feel we would do a disservice to you if we said, hey, Andessa, we helped you learn CSS and JavaScript, but then you end up looking at a job, for example, 5 years from now, and there's something on that job requirement that isn't that. Technology is changing very quickly. What we want you to be able to do is say, you know what, I don't know what that technology is because it's so new, but I know I can learn it because I've done it before. I have the skills and learning mindset to learn that thing, no matter what it is in a job description. So for us, it's really about that capability and not necessarily a specific skill. The specific skills are a way to create that capability. The second category of things we talk about a lot are leadership and workplace skills. So again, through the projects, you're constantly working in teams. In a given week, you'll probably team and reteam at least twice. You present almost every day at Adjacent. And a part of the reason for doing that is we believe that if you practice those skills around collaboration, around effective communication, around project management, around how to give and receive feedback effectively, that you will be able to develop those skills more quickly. And there's a lot of research to show that it's those skills that really make a difference in the workplace, that it's easier to hire somebody who is really bright, academically talented, but it's harder to find those leadership and soft skills in people coming out of school. And it's an opportunity for you to develop those. And again, to say, let me tell you about a time when I did this program called Davidson in Silicon Valley. I worked in 10 teams in the course of a semester. I built 5 projects. And let me show you what I actually created. The last category of things that we hope you'll learn is an awareness around career opportunities for you. Everyone comes to Adjacent, as I said, with a slightly different motivation. And we want you to be able to connect that motivation and curiosity with the world of work, to say, what are some things that I might be able to do given this newfound skill set, experience set with the interests that I have. You'll intern at a company as a part of the XPL course. So your internship will be about 68 hours a week. And that internship can be varied. So what we'd like to do is support you through the interview process and after you're admitted to understand what your goals and interests are in an internship. And then we and Jamie and the larger Davidson community will work to find you an appropriate internship that will be a component of the spring semester. In addition to the internship, we will have networking nights. We constantly have people coming into the program to give feedback. And it's an opportunity, again, to get to know the people. We always say that companies don't hire people, people hire people. So the extent that you can get to know a range of people, that will help you understand what's a good fit for you and find opportunity down the line. As we go along, feel free to drop questions in the chat. I know it's a lot to process. We'll send this out after. I'm going to move forward, but again, feel free to drop questions in the chat. So I referenced the courses that will help be the content for the learning that I just mentioned. There are 4 courses. So students will say, is it a full course load? It is. It's 4 courses. And the way to think about them are the top 2 are the technical courses. One is an intro CS course and one is a critical web design course. They are interwoven. So it's not like you show up and at 9 o'clock you're learning CS and 10 o'clock you're learning critical web design. We really think about the outcomes at a very high level, and then how do we teach and do the projects in a way that is really connected. So those 2 courses, you can see the learning intent behind those. They are courses that are also taught at Davidson. And the next course is an English course. It satisfies a JEC graduation requirement that was designed by Shireen Campbell and will be taught by her actually this spring as well. We think it's really important for you to not only develop these skills and to be able to build yourself, but to also think critically about the impact of tech. For some people who have never been to San Francisco, it's a very urban environment and it can be a bit jarring. And so it's the opportunity to say, what are the good and bad components of technology, right? We all see articles about that. And as you become in a position to create things, what are the choices that you might make intentionally or unknowingly that affect how people engage with technology and how they affect the community. So it's an opportunity to kind of get meta on the things that you're doing. And the last course you see here, XPL 199, is one that actually Jamie will help lead. And it was new at Davidson last year, very popular class. And it's, again, an opportunity to build work experience, but to do it in a way where you also have the space to have conversations about what am I noticing about the organization in which I'm working? What are the values and beliefs here? How do I think about not just showing up every day and doing the thing I've been asked to do, but like, how do I step out of that and think about the connections I'm making? And what students said in XPL 199 last year is they got more of that experience and that internship experience than if they had just done an internship alone. And so it's a really a internship seminar-based course. You'll work during the week. It will either be a virtual or in-person in San Francisco internship, and then you'll have a space to do discussions and writing assignments, et cetera, associated with that. What's the daily schedule? Davidson in Silicon Valley is a lot more like going to work than to school. We expect you to be in what we call a program learning space from 9 to 5 every day, other than the internship days. And we'll get more to that once the program gets going. But the work is very collaborative. We think as much about the community that we're building as we do about the technical and the skills that you're learning, right? You're really going through this experience as a cohort. So we spend as much time on the hard stuff as we do with the fun stuff to build a community. And you'll see that typically there's a check-in in the morning. There's usually a technical session. There's team time, lunch break. We do presentations and feedback every day. And then there may be opportunities to talk about the English course or something else. And then there are professional events. Sorry, I should have gone back. Over the course of a week, one thing I will say is that typically, and this is dynamic based on what we're seeing in terms of student learning and student need, typically Monday and Tuesdays are paired projects. And we do a lot around working in pairs and giving feedback in pairs. Wednesdays are often a solo investigation day. So you might say, I'm really curious about this thing, and it's an opportunity for you to do that. And then Thursday and Friday tend to be team projects. And we run them like sprints. So in the tech world, there are these things called sprints, which is a very established way of doing work and completing status checks, et cetera. And that's how we think about the cadence and arc of a week. One thing I'll say is that students come in with different exposure to technology. And because it's immersive and because it's project-based, we have a way of differentiating that learning. So the expectation for learning for somebody, for example, who has taken a CS course or two is different than someone who has not taken any courses. And we think about it really in terms of learning gain and how people are accessing feedback, as opposed to saying everyone needs to end up at the same place. Hopefully that helps answer a question that might be out there. There are some very practical considerations. People say, like, where do I live? How much money do I need, et cetera. So we have student-style dormitories that we rent. They're typical dorms, typically doubles, and students will walk typically to our program space. The student budget here is going to be amended a little bit, but historically it's been a mix of students eating out and students cooking. Usually the dorms have kitchen space. And then all students receive a transcript at the end of the experience. There's a lot to think about, I know, with respect to academic planning. Students, I know you're all trying to figure out, like, if I can make it fit with my major requirements and my Davidson requirements, et cetera. So I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have at this time.
So I know you had mentioned, sorry, did I cut someone? Okay, I know you had mentioned that some of the classes are taught by Davidson professors. Will they also be in San Francisco along with the students, or would they be doing it virtually from Davidson?
Good question, Isabel. So we have staff that we hire that are on site that are doing primarily the CS and Dig courses, although they definitely have a curiosity and connect to the other courses. And then the XPL course and the English course will be taught by Davidson faculty. They'll likely come to San Francisco for a touch point or two, but they will be teaching it from Davidson's campus, which was what was true actually in spring 2020 as well, before
Thank
everything went online.
And I have a question about the requirements and
Sure.
just, is there a kind of list of, you know, which classes in the Silicon Valley cover certain Davidson classes that like we could be needing to take or anything?
Yes, so I can send this out after, and I think if for CS majors, we should check with Ragu. But the CS course counts for a graduation requirement, which is the quant requirement. And then the science fiction and technology counts for the JEC requirement. And the other two don't count for specific graduation requirements. The Dig 245 counts if you're in that minor or major. But that's how I would think about those. Jamie, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, that's a good question, Miles. And I would just recommend before you commit, but whether it's before your application or afterwards, just take the course offerings to your academic advisor. And I'm not sure what class year you are, if that's a holistic advisor or an academic advisor, and just have that conversation with them so that they can kind of approve these courses with your graduation plan. I think that's the best thing to do individually. We'd hate to give you and say, oh yeah, that can definitely count for X, when it is going to vary across your majors. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
Something that students sometimes ask is, when should I do this? And we would encourage students to do it earlier, as early as they can in their academic experience, recognizing some might be able to do that because of requirements. Because what we've heard is that, again, students walk out of it with a different learning capacity and different intention. And so then you have more time to apply that, right, to the rest of your academic experience. And you're just more intentional about how you explore opportunity in the future. So we would recommend earlier. We've had students across the different graduation years do it, but it's something that we would encourage is people to think about it as soon as they can. And to that point, we would encourage people to at least get an application going. Sometimes students ask, well, if I apply and then I can't do it because I subsequently learned that I have this requirement, or I'm an athlete and I didn't know I had to do these things, then does that mean I have to apply again? And no. So if you are admitted, for example, to spring 2022, and then you learn that there's, for a variety of reasons, you can't do it, then what we would do is note that on our end and essentially pre-admit you to either a short form summer program or a semester program. We can't guarantee based on enrollment whether or not you'll have a spot, but you don't have to go through the process again, if that makes sense. Any other questions from Constantine? Anyone else? Join us late. All right. Jamie, do you want to add anything before we sign off?
No, I would just say, ask questions, reach out to Anne or myself. And as you're talking with other students, please encourage them to also reach out to us. We've recorded the session. We are going to post it on the YouTube channel for the Matthews Center. So we'll be sending info out, but also encourage your fellow peers that this could be a great opportunity for a domestic experience when we're not really sure what education abroad will look like in the spring. Just like right now in the fall, there's always a lot of ambiguity. So Please forward your friends to me or Anne, and don't you hesitate to reach out and ask individual questions as well.
Yeah, I'm obviously biased, but I think it's pretty awesome. We've had all the students go through it and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. And it's been pretty amazing to see what students do after the program, actually. Whether or not they're CS folks, on one end of the spectrum, we have people who go through, I just dropped my email in the chat, if anyone wants to reach out. Some people go through the experience. I can think of one young woman from Mount Holyoke who had never seen a line of code, was not sure she could code, was very apprehensive about the whole thing. And she did the first summer program and something switched on for her. And she just decided, she was an Arabic studies major. She changed her mind to become an Arabic studies and CS major. And then she is now working at JP Morgan Chase as a software engineer. And it's been really great to see that. We've had some students who were really curious about startup life and technology who then use that to get jobs in startup incubators. And it's been really, really cool to see to students who have said, even during their time on campus have said, I work with this nonprofit. They have a terrible website. So I just reached out to them to see if I could redesign it for them. And they use it as sort of like a side hustle to say, let me work with you on that. So it's really awesome just to see what people do with the experience. Well, thanks for making the time today to learn more about the program. We'll follow up with the recording and these slides, as Jamie mentioned, and we look forward to seeing your application.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, thanks for joining in, guys.
Bye.